So the A380 has had a somewhat turbulent life, with launching the program due to design issues with the engine failure for Qantas, and also factoring declining sales due to the arrival of far more fuel efficient aircraft like the Dreamliners and also the A350. Some would say that their program is an absolute failure, and to a certain extent it might be, taking into account that Airbus have stopped the production line. But the plane has seen success with the Gulf and the Asian carriers. Where it hasn't seen any success though is with the legacy carriers, United, American and also Delta. None of the mainstream carriers of the US have placed a single order for the A380 since it was introduced. It's not like they don't have any money for it or they don't operate routes where the plane wouldn't meet demand. So why haven't these carriers introduced the plane into their fleet? Well, one of the reasons is ETOPS. Once the ETOPS was introduced to twin-engine planes, this meant that there was no reason to take a risk and order any additional 3 or 4 engine planes. This was also the same reason as to why the A340 hasn't done so well in the US either. If a 2-engine plane can do the same job and reach the same destination, whilst being similar in terms of economics, then the popularity of aircraft with more than 2 engines began to decline, and came the success of the A330s and also the 777s. The A380 and also the 747 are simply way too big for airlines that prefer frequency over size. Within the US, flying passengers between city pairs doesn't validate enough demand to use such a big plane. This is also something similar to Japan Airlines and how they used the 747SR for domestic flights within Japan in the 1980s, resulting in limited success. But the simple reason is that it just doesn't fit their business model. Airlines who operate the plane like Emirates and British Airways for example, all have one massive hub where they can operate in and out from. These are also major connection points with millions of passengers either visiting that particular destination or connecting through the hub to go somewhere else. If you compare that to the US, there are multiple major cities and the big 3 airlines have hubs in few of those cities, not just like British Airways at Heathrow Airport. Small cities such as Seattle and Denver already have non-stop long-haul flights that can be operated on planes such as the 787. Therefore, there's no need for a major connecting hubs. Many US airlines have more than 5 hubs, and they like to spread out their traffic amongst them, rather than be constrained to one mega hub. If they really wanted to, they could use the plane out of their main hubs like New York, Chicago and Los Angeles, but they would rather have multiple flights a day rather than one A380 flight. Flexibility is also a key element. Planes like the A330s, the 787s and the A350s allow the airlines to have multiple flights at roughly the same price as one A380 flight. United have 5 flights using the 767 from Newark to London. Now you could say that this is a very popular flight which can justify using the plane. But by having 5 flights instead of 1, it gives passengers more choice in terms of which flights they would like to catch. You could just have 1 or 2 A380 flights, but then the passengers will be constrained to just those flights. If there was any potential of a US carrier ordering the plane, then it would have been both Delta and also United Airlines, because they both operated the 747, but unfortunately the plane was retired from their fleet a couple of years ago. We can rule out American Airlines because they haven't really operated the 747 unlike the other 2. So by using this logic, we can safely say that no one from the 3 airlines is interested or will ever be interested. It just doesn't serve their needs. The A380 is more practical at congested airports with large demand and also limited slot availability. But even though they don't have direct interaction with the A380, they still do have a connection to the plane, and this is by partnerships. American Airlines is part of oneworld, Delta is part of SkyTeam and also United is part of Star Alliance. This means that they can book tickets through their own booking agent and transfer passengers onto airlines that they have partnerships with, and this achieves a lower passenger cost on the A380. Delta for example code shares on Korean A380 flights from Seoul to both Narita and Hong Kong. Additionally, an Air France flight between Paris and Washington duels. By doing this, there's revenue for both parties while still gaining momentum. It's almost certain to say that the future of the A380 looks very bleak. By the time the industry was consolidated, the 787 and the A350 were already over the horizon. They offered each of the big 3 airlines better flexibility, a better match for their networks, and they also outpaced the A380 in terms of operational efficiency. It may also have been the issue that the A380 appeared from earlier on to have limited resale value, and that the economics of new fleets have evolved. The cost of financing a new plane depends a lot on how rapidly the plane depreciates in value and what the ultimate resale value will be. Older planes often find new life as converted freighters, and so there is still value to the airframe after 20 years of passenger service. But with a very small nice market for passenger service and being expensive to convert into a bulk freighter, the A380 would depreciate very rapidly. The cost of ownership to the airline, the bank or the leasing company that owns the plane is therefore going to be very high. The sad truth is that the industry is changing day by day. New standards are being created, and the A380 could have revolutionized the market with its huge capacity and extended range, but it hasn't seemed to match the high expectations. Airbus still remains largely committed to the hub and spoke model, unsurprisingly given that the A380 was developed for it. So captains, that was the reason as to why the legacy carriers have not placed a single order for the Airbus A380. I mean, it makes sense. Each airline has a different business model, and given the situation that you're in, you have to do that which will give you best results in terms of economics and also efficiency. Now, if you have any further opinions or thoughts on this matter, then do share them in the comments below. Also, if you want to support the channel, then check out the PayPal link in the description. Thank you so much for watching, like and subscribe for more aviation daily videos, and I hope to catch you guys in the next one.